Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Design N Quilt Monthly. My name is Mark Garretts and I'm a National R&K educator. And this month we're going to be looking at ways that you can work smarter with block creation and block editing. So if you want to follow along with us in this month's video, go ahead and open Design N Quilt. I've got my grid showing. If you don't have your grid showing, you'll want to come over here and click this icon right here, which shows and hides the grid. So I'll hide it, turn it back on. So that's the way that works. The grid spacing and all that really doesn't matter for this particular application, so whatever you have it set to will do. The first thing I want to talk about relates to the grid, and this relates to our block creation mode that we call Advanced Block Creation. It's this icon right here called Create Advanced Block. If we click it, it's going to open up a new window with our grid in it here. And what I want to talk about is when you draw lines in this mode, you click and drag a line and it creates a line in the block. Now you can create freeform lines, meaning they can be anywhere, but if you don't line them up quite right, then your block pieces are not going to be symmetrical or proportional or however you want to look at it. So the way to get that to work smarter is to right click on your ruler. Let me do that again, it didn't take it. Okay, and you have some snap to settings here, and the one we're going to be looking at right now is snap to grid, and you can see that I already have that checked. I'm going to uncheck it and just show you what happens. If I click on this point right here and drag my line across, like I want to bisect this quilt block diagonally, and I end right here, you can see that my point is right where I put it. It needs to be in this corner, but I need to get it exactly in this corner, and sometimes that's kind of difficult. I'm going to undo that line. I'm going to right click on my ruler again, and I'm going to click Snap to Grid. Now if I click anywhere in the vicinity of these points, or any place that two grid lines cross, or the edge crosses with the grid, it's going to automatically snap to that point. So watch, I'm going to intentionally leave my cursor off of that grid point, click and drag, and you see how it's snapping to the grid points? Okay, and if I just come all the way up here, I don't even have to get very close. When I let off, now I have a perfect line. So that is snap to grid, and it's very, very useful for getting things more precisely aligned when you're in advanced block creation mode. Now, one of the other tips with this is that you want your grid spacing to be in the right proportions for your block. So you might have to adjust that. I'll show you quickly how to adjust that. If you come back up to the ruler here, right click, and you can see here grid settings. If I click on that, you can see, like right now, my horizontal and vertical spacing is set to 1/4 of an inch, which gives me pretty good resolution. But if I wanted to do some like triangles that were not exactly this 1/4 of an inch, I might have to adjust this to say 1/3 of an inch or something to get my grid to line up where my snap to points would be where I want them. Okay, so that is snap to grid. The other thing you can do with snap to is snap to guidelines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off snap to grid, and I'm going to turn on snap to guidelines. Now, what's a guideline? A guideline is a line that you create that isn't necessarily on the grid. Okay, so if I wanted to snap to some arbitrary point, but I wanted to make sure that it was aligned to something. So for example, let's bring in a piece of artwork here, and let's just bring in a shape, and let's just use an arrow. Okay, so let's say I had this as an applique piece. And I'm going to click to select it, and I'm going to move it to where it's not aligned to a grid. The point I'm looking at right here is not aligned to a grid. If I wanted to have a piece line that came right to that point right there, what I could do is I could create a guideline that intersects this point. Now, how do I do that? The way I do that is I click on my ruler and I drag. So I'm creating a vertical guideline, and I'm just going to position it right there on the point. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing horizontally. Let me get real close. There I go. Okay, now if I have snap to guidelines turned on, which I do, I am going to click off of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line that goes from here. Oop, I've still got my wrong selection mode on here. Hold on a second. I want to be in block line tool mode. There we go. I'm going to click right here, and then if I get close to this point, you see how it snaps to the intersection of that those two guidelines. So that is using guidelines to align things, or in this case, snap to that point. Now, obviously, this would create a weird piece here because it's not connected to anything. So I could click here and come up here, and now I've got a complete block piece here and one here. A little weird shaped piece, but I've got one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a block, and I'm going to do that by coming here to my quilt block library, and I'm on my on point here. I'm going to change that to let's look at variable stars here. No, that's not the one I want. Let's look at 8-point stars. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up this block right here. Okay, because what I want to talk about now is smarter ways that you can select the pieces in this block. Now, the way we select pieces in a block is with this tool right here, which is our piece select tool. We also have this lasso piece select tool, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay, so if I simply click on this piece right here, I've got it selected. Now, if I wanted to change all these red pieces into, say, blue pieces or green pieces or whatever other color, I would have to select and change the color, select and change the color, etc. But I can select multiple pieces at the same time and change the color all at once. So that's a smarter way to look. Now, the normal way you select multiple pieces is you hold down the control button while you click. So I'm going to hold down control and click this piece here, and you can see now I've got both of those selected. But if I want to do that for all of the red pieces in the block, holding down control and clicking is going to take me quite a while to do. All right, so I'm going to click off it to deselect all the pieces, because I want to show you a smarter way to do that. One of the ways to do it, instead of just control clicking, if I select the first piece, then I right click on it, I have select same in block. Okay, so I have a couple of options. I can do it by color and shape, so that means the shape and the color have to match the selected block. I can do it by color, and I can do it by shape. So let's look at by color. Okay, so if I click that, now all of the blocks that are that red color are selected. So if I want to change them to, say, this green, I just have to click on the green, and they're all selected and all changed. So if I undo that, I've undone my selection. Let's look at the other modes. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to select same in block, this time by shape. Okay, now what happened? It doesn't look like anything in here is selected. That's because my selection line, you can see it, is all the way around the outside. Now, why is that? It's because all of the shapes in this block are this triangle. Okay, so this one, this one, this one, this one, even though this looks like one piece, it's actually two pieces, so two triangle pieces. So that selected everything. Not exactly what I had in mind. Let me click off it so it's not selected. Let's look at the last option, which is by color and shape. Okay, so if I click by color and shape, that will do it. Okay, so that selects all of the same block pieces that have the same shape and the same color. Now for this particular block, it turns out it was the same as just selecting by color. All right, so if you want to recolor a block real quickly, select shape by the same color is a good, fast, smart way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to deselect that. And now let's look at our lasso select tool. So that is here. So this allows me to select pieces that are together. So if I wanted to say select this whole quadrant to work on it together, I'm in my lasso select mode. So what I can do is I can click and drag a random circle, or shape, doesn't have to be a square. And if I right click on it, you can see I've selected all the pieces in here. So let's do that again. This time I want to show you what happens if you go through a block. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to go through that block, but I'm going to go around the rest of them. And the way this tool works is when you're done and you let off the mouse, I've still got nothing connected here, so I need to connect these 2 points. The way I do that is with a right click of the mouse. So I went through this piece and all of these pieces are selected, but I didn't select this one. Why? Because I didn't go all the way through it. So if I wanted to, let's say this is not a very complicated block, but let's say I wanted to select these 3 red pieces here. With my lasso select tool, I could drag around like this and just make sure that I have those pieces. Now I didn't do this very well because you can see I got this orange piece down here in the bottom that's also going to be selected. So let me try that again. Okay, I'm going to start down here, go up through this orange piece like that so I don't have it all the way encapsulated. Come down here, right click, and now, oh, you see, I screwed up again. I've got this orange piece. Let's try that one more time. Okay, I'm gonna come here, okay, and go around like this. I'll go through this orange piece, through that orange piece. Now I'm gonna right click. You can see now I've got the 3 pieces selected that I need to. Now you'll notice that when I click on the lasso select tool and just drag, I get sort of a free-form line. But if I just click points, I've got a non-freeform line. So rather than clicking and dragging and trying to draw with the mouse, sometimes it's easier just to click points. So let's do that again just by clicking points. I'm going to do this, 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 this. I'll come click a point there, up in here like this, right click to end it, and I didn't select this piece. All right, so let me try that again. If I go here, I'm going to come up here, up here, here, through here, up into here, up into here. Now I'm going to click one more time. Now the way this piece ends, I kind of have to have a straight line through it. So I'm going to click it, and now I've got those all selected. Okay, so that is using the lasso select mode. And I want to show you something about the lasso select mode before we end. And that is, whether or not it works depends on the type of block. So when you bring in a block from the block library, most of the time the lasso select tool is going to work. But let's go ahead and create an easy block. Okay, so an easy block is one where you select various pieces of this quilt block and then unite them to create a piece. All right. So if I wanted to select these, my normal select tool, I could just drag a box around it to select them, and that's pretty simple. Okay, but if I wanted to do a triangle selection, like let's say I wanted to select these 5 pieces, I could use my lasso select tool. So I can come here, okay, come down here, up here. Now I'm going to go through these blocks because I don't want them. Now I'm going to right click, and you can see I've selected those pieces. Right, so that's the lasso select tool in easy block creation mode. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to a different block, and that block is going to be our advanced block. Okay, now our advanced block has no quilt pieces on it, so I'm going to create some. I'm going to come back and I'm going to undo snap to guidelines, and I'm going to do my snap to grid, and I'm going to click here and drag across the top. Actually, I don't need to do that. I'm going to undo that. I don't need to make a line up there. I'll make a line here, and then I'll just bisect this block like that, and then this block like that, and then this piece like that. Okay, so now what I've got, if I go to my piece select, so I've got this piece is separate, this piece is separate, this piece is separate, this piece is separate. And I know they're not filled in, so it's a little hard to see, but I've got 4 pieces across the top here. All right, so if I want to select these with the lasso select tool, you'll notice that it is grayed out. That's because lasso select does not work at all in this mode, in advanced block creation mode. It only works with pre-built blocks or with the easy block creator tool. So you'll just have to do the standard drag a square if I want to select all those, or do the control click if I want to select various random pieces in the block. But select by color and all that stuff still works in this mode. It's just that the lasso mode does not work. So that completes our lesson for this month, Working Smarter with Blocks. I hope that you got something out of it, and I want to invite you to come back next month for another edition of Design N Quilt Monthly.